The deep, whispering cold of a world that doesn't want you settles into the bones before anything else does. Jackson Thorne registered that first, the cold threading through the cracked seal on his left gauntlet, patient and absolute, the way only alien air can be patient. The raptor's wreckage groaned somewhere behind him, one wing half buried in a ridge of crystal, smoke rising in thin violet columns against a sky that pulsed teal like something breathing beneath it. His life support readout blinked amber, then red, then a shade of red that didn't correspond to anything in the manual. He kept moving. The forest ahead shouldn't have been beautiful. He knew that intellectually, the way you know a drop is fatal before you look down. But the trees, if trees was even the right word for them, rose in translucent columns, 2 stories tall, creak in their facets catching the pulsing light and throwing it back in frequencies that settled somewhere between sight and sound. They sang, not with melody exactly, but with resonance, a low harmonic pressure against his sternum, like the hull of a ship carrying more weight than it was built for. He pulled his bypass tool from the thigh pocket and cracked open the life support panel on his chest plate, fingers working by memory. Recalibrate the intake filters. Reroute secondary oxygen to primary loop. Buy time. He'd gotten as far as the second coupling when the forest went quiet. The singing stopped. 6 figures stepped from between the crystal columns, and light moved with them. Bioluminescent plate mail caught and scattered the teal sky in long ribbons of blue-white, shifting patterns moving across their armor like something alive and deliberate. Not decorative, he realized. Communication. The Ethel Sentinels didn't announce themselves with sound. They did it with light. His sidearm was out of his hand before he'd consciously reached for it. No impact, no grab. It simply lifted away from him like something magnetic had decided the decision for both of them. There was a word for what Jackson felt in that moment, somewhere between the bypass tool still clutched in his fist and the 6 soldiers watching him with their luminous, patient eyes. The word was arrived. He didn't know why yet. They brought him before a throne of liquid starlight. That was the only honest description for it. A structure that moved, that breathed, that rearranged its own geometry, like it was still deciding what it wanted to be. Or seated within it, perfectly still against all that motion, was a woman whose eyes caught the light the way dying suns do. Not fading, burning inward. Empress Valerius didn't speak when they removed his chest plate for the scan. She simply looked at the jagged mark along his ribs, the sigil of Ethelred. Her archivist whispered it like a wound. And something shifted behind those eyes. Something that had been closed for a very long time. The deep tissue results came back in minutes. Centuries of dormant code threaded through his genome like a letter written in a language nobody expected to hear again. Her twin brother, the explorer who walked into the void rim and never returned. Not dead, it turned out. Just scattered. Carried forward in bloodlines that had no idea what they were carrying. A ghost in the genome. Finally coming home. He didn't get long to sit with that. The iron orthodoxy arrived the way bullies always do, loudly and with artillery. Their flagship dropped out of transit and filled the orbital feeds with ultimatums. Hand over the biological heresy. Submit to purging. Their logic was clean, totalizing, and completely without room for anything as irrational as a person, which was, Jackson figured, exactly the problem. The blink jump deposited him in the orthodoxy server corridor with a sound like a snapped guitar string and a head full of static. He found the core uplink, cracked the housing, and loaded the file. Not a bomb, not a virus in any conventional sense, Just the full, unedited weight of human absurdity. Contradiction stacked on contradiction, sitcom laugh tracks, punchlines whose setups made no logical sense, memes that referred to other memes that referred to nothing at all. He hit upload and stepped back. The flagship's hyper-logical AI met human humor at full speed and simply stopped. Tried to solve it. Couldn't. Tried again. The fleet went dark in sequence, drifting, their weapon systems quietly powering down while their central intelligence attempted to determine why a chicken would cross a road. Jackson returned to the palace to find the orthodoxy commanders sitting at a diplomatic table with the particular stillness of people whose leverage had recently evaporated. Valerius was already there, watching him cross the chamber with an expression he was starting to recognize. Quiet, assessing, the look of someone recalculating. He accepted the title of Echo Bearer without ceremony. That felt right somehow. Well, later, much later, they stood on the royal balcony as the first joint construction drones rose over the glass forest, their lights blinking in careful formation, beginning the slow geometry of a bridge. The crystal trees had started singing again. The sound moved through his sternum the same way it had when he'd been standing in the wreckage with a broken life support unit and no plan. The difference was that now he recognized it. "Your brother chose this too," Jackson said quietly. "The going toward, not the running from." Valerius didn't answer right away. The drones moved. The forest sang. "Yes," she said finally. "It appears it runs in the family.